What's up, Cardfighters? Today we're doing a little something different. We are going to do a alpha deck profile of Darkface with the new history collection coming out. I know I have a Leonore deck profile in the works, and that is supposed to be next, but it's taking a bit more time than I thought it would to get the deck to where I want it to be. Other than that, let's get started. For my trigger lineup, I'm doing 8 critical triggers, 4 of the Darkface crit, 4 stride fodders, 3 draw PGs, 1 over trigger, and 1 V starter. I'm optimizing this lineup of triggers because ever since we got the Blitz order card that counts as a PG if your opponent has triple drive on their Vanguard, it made it easier to wiggle in an extra crit to make the deck more aggressive. So, basic trigger lineup for me. For those of you that don't know, the Darkface crits have been upgraded to have a 10k power buff, and their shields are 15k. If they are damage checked, you get to draw a card. So really great upgrade to this trigger. Other than that, that's really it for the grade 0s. For my grade 1s, I'm running 3 high class Moth, 4 cleared breeze, 2 V low Dorcas, and 2 G low Dorcas. So with all my decks, I pretty much run 3 high class Moth because, yeah, 4th could be nice, but because it's a hard once per turn, that 4th copy could just be cloggy and not be useful. With Clear Breeze, you can ride it first turn, discard a card, draw a card, so dig deeper into your deck for OG Darkface or any other cards you need. If you discarded a grade 3, you can cradle a unit, so it can help slow your opponent down depending on when you get the Clear Breeze off and if you discarded a grade 3. I'm running 2 V Dorcas because it just checks top 5 for a grade 3, add to hand, discard 1, it's a 13k body. And with OG Darkface's skill, it's a little bit easier to get off. I'm running the G Little Dorcas because when it's placed on rearguard, you reveal a grade 3 from hand. Search your deck for up to 1 card with Darkface in its card name, add to your hand, and discard 1. Very easy to get off because of the Heal Guardians. And it's also a stride fodder, so you could discard it from your hand to stride for those that didn't play in G era at all. And with Cleared Breeze, you can also discard the Heal Guardians as well to cradle a unit, in case you just need to cradle and get an extra card into your hand. Other than that, that's really for the grade 1s. For my orders, I'm only running the 1 Blitz order card that we got. It's a free PG if your opponent is on stride or if they have a unit with the triple drive icon. Very strong card in premium. That's really it for the orders. Nothing special. For my grade 2 lineup, I'm running 2 Punish Stag, 4 Megalar Lancer, 2 Battler S, 3 Stamping Reds, and 2 Blooming Petals. So Punish Stag skill is, when placed on rearguard, GB1, if you have a Vanguard with Darkface in his card name, choose one of your opponent's rearguards, stun it, he gets 2000 power, and the unit stun gets the following text of, if this unit is at rest during your turn, you draw 1. It makes your opponent have to think, do they want to keep the unit on board to let you draw a card, or do they want to get rid of it? This card can be pretty useful. I'm running 4 Megalar Lancer to help shut down intercepts and build a soul, and to get his power buff. He's not a bad card to help fuel soul for Gridora, your G-Guard, and Darkface's skill when we get to it. Battler S, when placed on rearguard, you can Soul Blast 1. Your opponent calls a card from their hand. It is stunned, and they draw a card. Also, the unit's auto effects will not activate. Her second skill is why she's really in the deck. If your opponent has no standing rearguards, you can discard 1 card from your hand and Superior Call her from the drop zone and Soul Charge 1. Helps you get board presence and gets you a soul for Darkface or any other skill that needs a Soul Blast. Stamping Red, when placed on Vanguard or rearguard, Counterblast 1. Cradle one of your opponent's rearguards. If you cannot cradle, you draw a card. If he sees a unit that is cradled, he gets 6,000 power, so he's a 15k attacker, so boosted by an AK, he's 23. Cradling your opponent's rearguards is really strong, but if you cradle an opponent's rearguard that has like Jaggy Devil's text where you would draw a card off of it, will still work, because Cradle gets rid of the original ability, but not the red text box that you gave your opponent's units. So it's kind of a win-win. They can get rid of the Cradle unit, and you get the search, or they leave the Cradle unit on the board that's stunned, and you get the draw. So I kind of like this route. For Blooming Petal, her skill is just simple. When placed on the rearguard circle, if you have no soul, soul charge 2. It could be very useful in the mid to late game, or even early game if you have no soul. And I can explain how that could be very beneficial in the grade 3s, which are coming up right now. For my grade 3s, I am running 2 G-era Intimidating Mutant Darkface, 2 V-era Intimidating Mutant Darkface, 4 Ursup Dragon, and 4 Heal Guardians. The Heal Guardians are basic by now. The heal trigger, 15k, the grade 3, help you live in the early game by giving your Vanguard 10k power if you have a road to grade 3. Ursup Dragon is a very interesting card to have. If your grade 3 or Vanguard is placed when he's in the drop zone, you can superior call him. So if you have 2 or 3 in the drop zone, you can just call them all out of the drop zone right there and then. It just helps you get bodies on the board. V-era Darkface, when placed on Vanguard or Rearguard, discard a card from your hand and cradle one of your opponent's rearguards. Then, when he attacks, you can counterblast 1, kill a Cradle unit, and he gets power plus 5,000 for every grade of the Cradle unit. So he gets bigger and forces you to get a search off the Cradle if you so desire. The OG Darkface from G-era. When he's right on top of him, counterblast 1, choose up to 2 of your opponent's rearguards, force rest, stun them, and stamp the red text box. If this unit is at rest during your turn, your opponent draws 1. So same thing like Jaggy Devil, just on stride, counterblast 1 for 2. His GB2, when your opponent calls a rearguard, Soul Blast 2, and force rested. So that's where the Peddling Blossom comes into play. That's where the Malajantis comes into play to eat a rearguard to soul. It helps you fuel Darkface's GB2. So with Ursup Dragon coming out of the drop zone, if you have a Megalar Lancer, you can swing with Ursup, then use Lancer to eat the Ursup Dragon and fuel your soul. I also forgot to mention with the Darkface crit, along with the other Break Stride crits, if you have a Vanguard with the specific name, so in this case, Darkface, when your Vanguard attacks, it moves into soul and draws you 1 card and gives your Vanguard 5,000 power. So it's like the Premium Collection critical triggers, but just specific to the card name. So this also helps you build your soul up for Darkface's GB2 skill. Other than that, that's really it for the grade 3s. Now let's move on to the strides. For my strides, I am running 2 Jaggy Devil, 4 Gridora, 2 Overwhelms, 3 Malajantis, 1 Featherwall, 2 Crew Weeble, 1 Griseford, 1 Relish Lady. So this is where the deck becomes a little interesting because in History Collection, so all the strides in History Collection have pretty much been confirmed to be a superior stride. So if you have a grade 3 Vanguard with X name, so in this case it would more than likely be Intimidating Mutant Darkface, you discard cards from your hand with a sum of grade 3 or greater and stride it. It is an act, so you could do all your opponents at grade 2 as long as you didn't get a gift this fight. That's all that we know. We don't know what else Jaggy Devil will do, but Jaggy Devil's on-hit skill stuns a front and back row rearguard. And whatever skill Jaggy Devil will do will probably Persona flip himself, which is why we have 2 in the deck, which helps activate Darkface's GB2 skill before your opponent gets to grade 3. You have the 4 Gridoras, which is a very strong card. Stuns their stand phase completely, stunning all their Vanguard, rearguards. They can't superior call, can't G-guard, and get you an extra attack by superior calling a grade 3 from the deck. Overwhelm just draws you a bunch of cards, and she can go drive and crit. Malajantis can minus your opponent's Vanguard by 10,000 power, or kill a standing rearguard to countercharge and draw a card. If it's in the G zone, you counterblast 1 and eat a rearguard up to do that skill, which by using Malajantis in the G zone, you can fuel Darkface's GB2 by eating another rearguard. Featherwall is a 25k shield if her requirements are met. Crew Weeble on Guardian Circle, Soul Blast 1 gets 30k shield. Your opponent can rest X amount of units to reduce its shield value by 10, so interrupting plays. Grisefort on Guardian Circle, Counterblast 1. When your opponent's Vanguard is attacking your Vanguard, pay the cost. Rest their whole back row. Gets 5k for every 2 units at rest. Relish Lady, when your opponent's Vanguard attacks, Flip a G guard face up. Your opponent chooses 2 units and rest them. If they do not, you get to draw, soul charge, and counter charge. So another way to help get soul for Darkface's skill. That's it for the G zone. So let's show off some stuff that you can do with Darkface. So let's say you're going first. You can ride Darkface, and since G era Darkface doesn't have a gift marker, you don't get a gift. So then you can discard Ursa Dragon from your hand to Superior Stride into Jaggy Devil. Now you do have multiple skills to go off because Jaggy Devil is probably be when placed. You pay its cost, so flip Persona Flip, Darkface's skill. You can counterblast 1 to force rest and stun the 2 rear guards as we discussed about. Then Ursa Dragon is going to come out of the drop zone because a grade 3 or greater was placed while he was in the drop zone. Then you just call the Darkface crit trigger. So as you see, we have 3 cards in Soul. So you can go ahead, for example, call Stamping Red, counterblast 1, and cradle 1 of Darkface's units that you have paralyzed. Now, no matter what they do with that unit, you're either going to get a draw or you're going to get a search. Then you can go ahead, call, Clear Breeze, discard an Ursa Dragon in your hand, draw a card, and cradle another rear guard. Now you have successfully hit both units that you've stunned with Darkface. And then you call Megalar Lancer. Realistically, this will probably be the best setup because your opponent's going to be at grade 2 when you do this, so you'll be able to hit 19k with the column instead of having the Ursa Dragon in the front row. So you can go ahead, swing with the Stamping Red. Since there is a cradle unit, he'll get 6k, which would make 19k. Then you can attack with Darkface. Use the crit trigger to go into Soul. Draw a card. Then you're going to get your triple drive. So, first, second, third. There's another Ursa Dragon right there to help you recur your board. Then you can attack with Megalar Lancer to eat up the Ursa Dragon. Also, a thing I forgot to mention about Jaggy Devil and all the strides in History Collection is their on-hit effects are going to activate no matter what. So even if they perfect guard or block the Vanguard, you're going to get your on-hits. So, after you're done with your turn, this goes away. Now, you have 2 face-up cards in the G zone. You have GB2 live. And if you set up better in the early game, you have more cards in Soul. So there are 5 cards in the Soul. So you can rest 2 rear guards if they call them. So if they do call 1, you can use Darkface's skill. Soul Blast out 2, which you would want to Soul Blast Ursa Dragon, and rest it. Darkface GB2 skill is very impactful. I've always been a fan of it because it helps interrupt your opponent plays. It makes them think harder about their turn. Now let's say, you take 2 damage and whatever, yada yada yada, blah 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 blah. Aha, beautiful. So now we have damage check Darkface's crit. So you'll give 10,000 to your Vanguard, and you get to draw on the damage check. And let's say they didn't replace the rear guard you stunned because they didn't want you to get the Cradle Search. Now you draw 2. So even if you don't get to Superior Stride going second, Darkface is still not a bad card to ride into, even though you won't get a gift marker. Because if you have to stride regularly, you can discard the Ursa Dragon, then Ursa Dragon will come back. And if you stride Gridora, you do Gridora stuff. If you stride Overwhelm, you draw a bunch of cards. And because you're always going to flip up a Malajantis first, you can use Malajantis to eat up the Ursa Dragon you Superior Call from the drop zone to help build Soul. It is a very fun deck from what I've played so far with it. If you're empty Soul, you call Blooming Petal first to Soul Charge 2 to get your skill live faster. So there's a lot of fun ways you can go around with Darkface. Until we see Jaggy Devil's official skill, this is what I have right now, and it is probably going to change once we get this skill. Other than that, until next time, card fighters, be safe out there.